and welcome back to another video of jPlay. I am Marcus and today I want to walk you through a couple of rounds of Nightlancer, and you see it for yourself. This is a prototype of an upcoming game that's currently on Kickstarter. Britain 2099. The last century has seen massive technological advancement but catastrophic world events. Nuclear wars, economic collapse, government controls and civil unrest increasingly take their toll on the world. People continue to lose their sense of self and reality as they implant cybernetics and use exotic drugs to make themselves more than human. Those that change themselves too quickly become disassociated from reality and turn violent and dangerous, called the tech shock. And yeah, doesn't this sound like the intro to a cool cyberpunk themed board game? Yes, apparently it does. But what are those Nightlancers? And the answer has been given by those two guys here. They really walk you through the rules. They have some very nice comments, really enjoying reading those rules. And the answer is here: we do freelance work and we normally work at night. We can't exactly go by those guys that break in places, get into fights and steal stuff. Yeah, you are basically freelancers. You try to make your living in this dystopian world of 2099 in Britain. And the game is all about those prospects. Prospects are basically victory points that you try to gain throughout the normally 8 rounds of a game, at least when you play with 3 or 4 players. Today I will focus on the solo mode of the game, and this already answers one of the most common questions when a new game is being announced or being launched on Kickstarter. Yes, you can play this game solo, you can play it in a co-op mode, but you can also play it competitively, and I think this is how this game is meant to be played. But nevertheless, you can also play it solo, and this is what I will do. So you will play with 10 of those event cards, but I'm not so sure if I will really do a complete run through of the whole game, because I have really no idea of how long this is going to take. I mainly played the game with full 4 players in competitive mode. I've never played it in solo, so I have not really an idea how this will feel like, if it's challenging at all. There is a way that you can really lose this game. And this happens when your ideals fall to 0, when you are in tech shock. There are several ways how you can achieve this defeat. I really hope we will not get there. But apart from that, it's really all about those victory points. The problem is you can really avoid taking any ideals hits, more or less. So you can basically call it a day, do really only the easy stuff, and then you would end up, I don't know, with 4 prospects or so, which is really lame. So I'm not sure if I will play it a little bit more challenging, for example, not allowing myself to win this game when you have a loan or something like that. So, but this is something I will find out as I play. And as you can see, I already chose one of the 8 characters that ship with the game, at least with my prototype of the game. So even though it's a game for only 1 to 4 players, you have 8 characters to choose from. And right now I really don't have any idea if there will be more, depending on how the campaign actually goes. But this is the sniper, and I really chose her at random. And on the backside of each of those characters there is some kind of a backstory to those characters. So here you are a hypergenic experiment by the Exogenesis Corporations, built for improved muscle efficiency as an experiment, and so on. And this is really something I have to emphasize here, that you're not just getting a board game, you also get some background. Why are we playing this game, and what are your goals? How did everything happen? What led us to the situation as we are today? It's not really pages over pages, or I think it starts somewhere here, then it goes here to the major events in the last 50 years or so. You learn about a bit those mega corporations, some of the major gangs. Here of course you see some pictures of those Nightlancers here, but this is really something I enjoy a lot. So why am I playing this game? Why am I here? And all this kind of stuff. But coming back to our Nightlancer, the sniper here, so let's do a little bit more setup. So the sniper starts the game with his target rifle here, so you see it here, sniper only. You get some basic values here. So gunfighter +1, marksman +2. It's obvious, it's loud, but this is something that we come to when we go into the actual missions. We start the game with 5 health, which is pretty important because whenever you run out of health, you lose one of your ideal, and this is something that we don't want to see. And we start the game with 6 resolve, which is basically your determination, your willpower. There are also a lot of opportunities to lose those resolve tokens, and unfortunately, when you're running out of resolve, you're also losing one of your ideals. And then we start the game with one of those KCs. I think it's kilo credit, and they're stored on those microchips. And even though that's a prototype, that those discs or those tokens here I really do like a lot. So this is basically our money we start the game with. Doesn't sound like much, but with one of those cases you can definitely go and buy some stuff already. Apart from the equipment, we start the game with this agenda card here, and this is the starting agenda card for the sniper, and it says buy your life back. And all those nice agenda cards have this little flavor text here. Exogenesis have a contract on my life, signed by the parents that had me grown as a test. I need to find a way out of this contract so they won't pursue me. So in order to fulfill this agenda, we have to discard 10 KCs and we have to discard a company contact card. And when we fulfill this, we would gain 3 prospect for that. This could be a potential, let's say, addition to the solo rules that you have to complete your starting agenda. In most cases, that's not really that big of a deal, but this is definitely something I want to focus on in this playthrough in order to show you what you can do with those agenda cards. Right now we are pretty much only little street dogs, so we start the game with 0 of those prospects. But the good news is that we also start with 0 heat, because no one knows us. If we ever go to 5 heat, we may not accept any more missions, but I think in the solo version of this game, that's not very likely to happen, that we gain that much heat. And that's pretty much everything you have to do as part of your setup. So we can basically jump into the very first round, and a round always consists of the following phases. We have the prep phase, we have the streets phase, we have the missions phase, and we have some kind of an end phase. First thing you do in any given round is to reveal a new event. And the first 5 events in the solo mode are the so-called early events. They are a little bit easier to deal with. Sometimes they really don't affect you at all. And they're also determined how valuable those prospects are. So you can really spend some money in order to buy victory points, which is really, let's say, a great way in the competitive version of the game to really, bring you in the lead. So let's reveal the next card. And here we have the AR virus. And much like the agenda cards, each of those event cards also have some kind of a flavor text to that. An invasive computer virus is released into the world, infecting anyone with a cybernetic wireless implant. Chaos breaks out as they are driven to fits of rage by the virus. Okay, one thing that we learn here is that how many mission cards there are available. As we are playing solo, we will look at this column here, the 2-player column, so we only see 3 low-profile missions available. I come to that in a second. But what's more important is that we have to deal with this event. Right now, we still wait, because right now we are still in the draw cards phase, so we can still hope for some contacts to help us more or less passing this test here. This is a tech test. Identify affected people so you can keep safe distance. And if we fail this test, we basically have to discard 2 health. And and the card tells us basically how much one prospect basically costs. But first of all, let's finish the draw cards phase. And the next thing you do is to draw black market cards, and you do that 2 black market cards and then 2 more per player. So in this case, I would reveal 4 of those cards. Let's see what we got. A body regenerator. Sounds like a good thing to have. A target rifle. We already have a high rifle, not sure if we need one. Then we have infiltration optics, also some cyberware stuff. This cyberware is really cool, but they always come with a price. You always have to spend resolve, and getting resolve back is not that easy in most cases. And then we have the plasma knife, which is apparently also a weapon and provides us some close combat range. So this is basically the offering, but right now we are not yet allowed to buy those because we are still drawing cards. Each player draws 2 contact cards and recovers spent cards. Right now we don't have any spent cards, so let's just grab 1, 2 of those contact cards and have a look at those. We have the black bag handler, that's a company card. Then we have the journalist, a social card, and the good thing is here we see the company trait, which could help us to fulfill our agenda here, because it says we have to discard a company card. Great start. But what's more important, you can use those contact cards basically like interrupt cards. Really any time during the game when it makes sense, of course, during your turn, during another player's turn, you can use them to do something. So this one, for example, allows you to increase your streetwise level for one test. Basically, you can use it to draw more agenda cards, or you can also play it to make the lives of another player more difficult by playing this symbol on him, because this symbol means play this card on another player, and then his streetwise value goes down. The iconography is again a little bit too prototypish for me, but good thing is really the description of all of those symbols is very, very thorough in the rules, so normally you really know what you have to do. Sometimes they're still a little bit too small and such, but overall you really always know what you have to do. Okay, this was pretty much the draw cards phase of the prep phase, and now we come to the event phase. So now we really have to deal with the event here. All the players now have to do a technical test with a difficulty of 4 in order to identify affected people here in this case. So this is what we have to do right now. And now would be a good time to check our abilities. Our technical value is only a 2. So we are still too short in order to meet the requirements for this test, which is a 4. Now we could theoretically play some or one of those contact cards. Unfortunately, the contact card we just drew only allows us to increase the streetwise test by 1, so we cannot use it for this test. Good thing is we are still allowed to roll this special die here, which goes from 0 up to 3, and we can just add the value to our base value of 2. So normally what you do, you check your base value, you play any cards, other players play any cards. This can be really chaotic, so whatever, you can play a card, another player can play a card, you can again play a card, and until all the players say, okay, we are basically stopping here to play any cards, and then you would roll the die and add it to the overall result. The problem now with the solo rules is that you also have to draw a contact cards on top of that, and if the negative effect would now influence the test, you have to apply it. So let's see what we just drew. It's another journalist, it's a social guy, but luckily he would only reduce our street price. But in this case we are looking for the technical value, but we still have to roll at least a 2. So let's see what we can do. Could be a very, very tough start. Let's see. That's only a 1, which brings us up to 3, which is clearly not enough to dodge the bullet here. So in this case we have to discard 2 health, which is really a bad start, but I cannot help it, so we have to get rid of 2 of those health tokens. One thing I should have done already is to draw new mission cards, and again, in a 2-player game, or basically playing solo, I have to draw 3 of those low profile missions, and there are those huge cards here that represents the various missions. So let's just draw our very first mission here. Again, we will have 3 available for this round, but all those missions will be discarded when we don't choose to fulfill those. And here we have to steal some research data. This company is working on some new tech that they're going to charge a lot for. We fancy that profit. We can beat them to market if we do one little thing for us. Steal their schematics. Okay, this was the first card. So let's put that here to the first slot. Let's take the next one. Kidnap a brother for ransom. Wow, that's really a mean thing to do. And here we have to steal from Impound Garage. So you see, you have a lot of flavor to those missions. In most cases, it's basically a series of various skill checks. But again, they all come with this nice little flavor text. Again, you really know what you're doing. After the event step, we come to the downtime step. So all players basically get some funds back. For once, they gain 1 Casey, they gain 1 health back and 1 resolve token back. We haven't lost any resolve, so we are not getting any news. But of course, we get 1 health back, which is all a good thing. Right now, we are not shaken. You are shaken when you lose either your health or your resolve, and then you can basically put your token back up, and then for each loan we have, we could now pay it back, or we would have to pay some interest. And if we are not able to pay that, then in this case some guys would really beat us up badly. Here in this case, we simply get 1 health back and 1 additional KC, which could be pretty cool for us to go for this plasma knife with a cost of 2. It provides us 2 extra close combat points, and the good thing about it is you can hide it well, so you can take it to stealthy missions, to incognito missions. I come to that in a second. So this could be a very cool item for us. Now we come to the last step of the preparation phase, and this is to take missions. I had a look at all of the other missions, and I think I will go for the Steel Research Data mission here, which are already read to you. You don't have to go to a mission. You can also pass basically, and then you are allowed to heal up to your maximum resolve and health. But I find it kind of lame for the solo version of the game. Maybe I will do that later on when I'm really shaken, but right now I think this is not what I want to do. So the thing I do is basically I put my Nightlancer token on the first crew spot of the first stage, and this is really important for the competitive version of the game. So there could be a secondary crew. You could form a crew consisting of various Nightlancers, which is really a cool thing, so you can really team up even though you are competing with each other. But in this case I'm apparently alone, so no one else will go there. But that's pretty much it. All of the other missions are now being discarded, so they're gone for good, at least for this game. And then we jump into the streets phase. In turn order, players take their turns. Again, we are playing alone, so we can buy a black market card, we can fulfill an agenda, we can take a loan, we can buy some prospects, and the price of those prospects is being shown on the current event card. I think I showed that to you. And we can pass, and when all players pass consecutively, then this black market card will be discarded, and this phase will also end. What's a bit specific in this game is that passing doesn't necessarily mean you're out for this round, because you can basically jump on the train again when all the other players have taken their turn. So you can just basically wait and see. I think I will start the streets phase with taking a loan. Note, you can only have up to 2 loans in any given game, and of course you have to pay the interest each round, so we have to be careful. So for that we get 10 additional KCs here, so we are up to 12, and I think with 12 we can really do something. And the next thing to do is to buy some stuff. And I think I will start with the plasma knife here. So therefore I have to pay 2 credits, or KCs in this case. So let's grab this card and put it next to our player area. Theoretically, I could move it right up into our loadout area, but this is something you only have to do when you start a mission. So right now we just keep them some kind of in our repository and don't have to think about it right now. The ISC X3K plasma knife. Hold the trigger and the plate creates 3000 wow, degrees plasma, even able to burn through armor. So it really sounds like some kind of a small scale lightsaber. And I think with our next action we are going to buy some cyberware. Those cost us 4 credits. We also have to pay 2 health, which could really be a problem, and we have to pay 2 resolve here, but it gives us +1 for covert and +1 for streetwise, and streetwise is something we might need for our mission here. So I think in this case, yeah, I think I will do that. So I will pay $4 here. I get 1 back, but we still have to spend 2 resolve and 2 health, so we are down to only 2 health. This can be really a problem, but nevertheless, let's grab those infiltration optics. The Fujia infiltration package includes a suit of sensory enhancements, infrared and ultraviolet vision, complemented by motion sensors. And as mentioned, it provides us +1 covert and +1 streetwise. And I think that's pretty much it for this round. Maybe or maybe not, as we could still play one of our contact cards. And again, you can play that at any time, but in some cases you really wait for the right moment. So for example, if I would now play the journalist on myself, or this little arrow showing to me, I would be allowed to draw 2 agenda cards, and yeah, I would be allowed to keep one of those 2. But I think I really might need this streetwise bonus here, so I think I will hold on to the journalist. And right now I really don't need the black bag handler here at this point in time. And I also think I don't want to spend more money on additional items here. And of course, normally you're really competing on those items. Of course, with more than just one player, you will have more items available. And there are also contact cards that basically can cancel a purchase. So whatever, if you want to go for this body regenerator and another player is going to go for it, then you can play a contact card and say, no, 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 I don't think so. You are not allowed. And then his turn basically ends. And then when it comes back to you, you then be allowed to buy this body regenerator, unless the other player also doesn't have such a contact card here. Of course, this is something that's a bit, let's say, missing, or that I'm missing from the solo version of the game. So you could really think of maybe introducing some kind of a rule that, I don't know, some kind of a passive player is buying those stuff, whatever, rolling a die every time you do something else than buying or something like that. But right now I have no clue how this turns out, and the overall selection isn't that great anyway, with just 4 black market cards. This means I officially pass, so we will discard the remaining black market cards, and then we directly jump into the missions phase, and we want to steal some research data. The very first thing you have to do is to gear up. What does this mean? You have to populate your loadout area. There are some limitations. You are not allowed to take more than 1 weapon, more than 1 armor, more than 1 item. So you really have to be conscious on what you are doing. And there are also some more restrictions. Let's go for our starting item here, the target rifle. It's really a very obvious and loud weapon. So this is what it says here. And when we check the mission requirements here, it says it's an incognito mission. That means obvious cards may not be used, and our target rifle is an obvious card, so we would not be allowed to use it. And it's also a stealthy mission, so loud cards may also not be used. And again, let's have a look. We also have a loud weapon with us. So basically this card is totally out of scope, which was the main reason to go for this plasma knife here, because it's neither obvious nor loud. And unfortunately, this is the only item we were able to buy which would provide us any meaningful bonus. But luckily we were able to implant those infiltration optics, and those cyberware, they basically stack up, so we can have any number of cyberware with us. So this is definitely something that might prove us good. So this was basically the gear up step, and then we directly jump into the first stage of this mission. Now we can basically choose if you want to go for option 1 or option 2 here. Our streetwise is currently a 3, so 2 from our base value and +1 because of our infiltration optics here. So this is already a 3, which means an auto success. But again, normally other players could make your life definitely tougher here, but in the solo version of the game we have to draw a contacts card. So let's do that. What do we have here? An organizer, and if the bad effect would somehow affect our mission here, we would have to play it. But in this case, the only effect, it says it would prohibit us to buy something from the black market. So this is this card where you can really cancel the purchase of another player. So in this case, nothing bad would happen, but we still are supposed to roll this special die here, because some of the faces, they show this little resolve icon, and when we roll this result, we have to pay 1 resolve. So it's really tough for us. For example, I think there are only 2 or 3 faces on this die. Again, we already passed this test automatically, so we basically want to avoid this resolve symbol, and in this case we weren't lucky. It's a +0, but it's still good enough to pass this test. But unfortunately we still have to get rid of 1 resolve. Okay, first stage is done, so we move on to stage number 2. Again, we can choose for one of those options, so we can take the technical test. Our technical value is a 2, so we still need to roll at least a 1. Or we could go for this distraction test down there, which is only a 2. Sounds really, really tempting. The problem is, in order to do a distraction test, that's a special test, we have to play a contacts card first in order to allow this. And normally those distraction cards are, I don't know, performers, actors, something like that. Fortunately, we don't have any one of those, so we have to go with this option here, which means we have to roll at least a 1, but of course we still have to draw a contacts card. Let's see, another fixer, faceman. Again, doesn't do us any harm here, which is, I think, good news. But of course we still have to roll our mission die here. That's a 2, no resolve, perfect. This brings us up to 4 with our technical value, which means we go to stage number 3. Now it says competing crews would face off here, so also something from the core competitive version of the game. So if both crews, so second and first crew, would make it here, they would now have a face off, and whoever wins this face off would be allowed to take this final test here. This case, again, I'm playing alone, so I can choose. So in this case, I think I will go with streetwise again, because it gives me +1, so I have 3. And I think in this case I will want to make sure I will pass, so I will play the journalist on myself here, so I gain +1 streetwise, so I am now at 4. But of course, unfortunately, we still have to draw an additional card from the deck. And what does it say here? A power player. No, it does not affect us right now, so we pass this test automatically again. And keep in mind, when you're playing this game competitively, other players could really make your lives tough by just playing cards on you. We still need to roll the die, even though we already made it. In this case, again, we have to spend another resolve here, so we are already down to 2 resolve from our 6. So you see, this is really something you have to take care of at some point in time. But of course, buying those cyberware stuff, this is really the most obvious way how you're losing those resolve points, or if you're really rolling poorly like myself. But hooray, we made it to the payment step. First thing is, it's a dirty mission. After all, we were stealing some research data. So we have to lose one ideal. And keep in mind, if we drop to 0, we would basically lose this game right away. Right now we are still doing okay, and there are agenda cards which help you to increase your ideals level. But of course we are not done yet. We were a crew of only 1. In this case we gain 15 points. If you would basically team together with another player, then each player would only get 1 KC, and with a crew of 3 only 5 KCs. But in this case we are also allowed to draw 2 skill cards and buy one of those 2. So let's see what we get. We see the alert for snipers, marksman +1, and we gain an automatic prospect. That sounds tempting. Or we get more efficient, so we get $1 in the downtime step. Wow, this is also tempting. No, I think I will. I could really go more specialized. No, I will go for efficient in this case. So I have to pay $2. I give my return back in a moment, and this would give us our first prospect. Hooray! And of course we must not forget to take 1 additional KC in the next or in the upcoming downtime steps. Before we discard this mission now, this is also a special rule for the solo or the co-op version of the game. We draw another contact card every time you complete a mission to see if it would affect you. No, in this case it doesn't affect you. There are some effects in the game that raise your heat. I think I showed that to you with one of the other, I think it was the organizer or so, that would now increase our heat. In this case the private security doesn't really care about our heat, so we can get rid of it, and then we would discard this mission and jump into the end phase. We would discard down to our contact's hand size of 3. Right now we are at 1, so we are not doing this. In the multiplayer version of the game we would now change the turret order according to the heat, and yeah, then we would basically start a new round. And yeah, this is pretty much how you play Nightlancer with the solo rules. I think I will record at least 1 more video showing you 2 or 3 more rounds to really provide you some more theme, to show you more contact cards, maybe deal with 1 or 2 of those agenda cards and whatnot. But I think with this video you should know what this game actually feels like. And keep in mind, you can back it on Kickstarter, so you will definitely find a link in the description of this video. And yeah, hope to see you soon in one of my other videos, and until then, bye bye.